Live. And then today's IG Live comes from actually a reader's request. So one of my students bought a kit and she hasn't cut into it because she's like, I just don't know how to cut scallop lace. So you want to think of cutting scallop lace like cutting stripes or checks or any other pattern. It is not hard. It just kind of takes a little bit more time and maybe some investigation, I would say, some detective work trying to find those patterns to match up. So I want to, before we start cutting, or I'm going to do my demo on start cutting, I want to go over two things because I'm going to demo on the Madalynne Simplicity 8228. But before we get started, before you waste your time on cutting out the scallop lace, determine if it's worth your time because some patterns are so busy and they are so, there's so much going on that even if you line them up perfectly, you won't even notice. So I already wrote my blog post. So I have a blog post that went up, or that is going to go up right after I publish this live. And in that blog post is a picture of a lace, which, let me get off the rack here. Actually, this is the Eloise. And this is, for some laces, they're either light in color or the pattern is so busy that if you match it, nobody's gonna notice. And I'm one of those people like, if nobody's gonna notice, don't waste your time. So here's an example. So the Eloise right here. On the there's a vertical seam and you can match the scallop laces there. But the lace is so light in color that you're not really, it's not gonna be an eyesore that if it doesn't match. So that's one thing to consider. The other thing that you need to consider, so let's just say that you picked out your lace and you're like, okay, definitely needs to match. I'm gonna put this back. So let's say you picked out your lace and it definitely needs to be matched. The second thing you need to ask yourself is, where is it going to match? Because you can't control the width of the motif on the lace. So you have to kind of pick and choose. So on my example, it is the Madalynne Simplicity 8228 on the vertical seam. I feel like that is the most prominent spot, and when you look at the bra, your eye's gonna be drawn to that spot. So on the example that I'm giving, I'm gonna have it, the pattern match at the vertical seam on the scallop cups, but it's not gonna match on the vertical seam at the center front or the side seam. Listen, in a perfect world, they would, but you can't just have it match everywhere. So those are the two things that you need to consider. And then if you have determined that, your lace needs to be matched up, you've determined the seam where it is going to match up, then you get to cutting. So give me a second because I have my laces over there and I'm going to show you just how you cut. So let's turn this around, bring this over here. You guys can follow me all the way over here. Okay, so I'm going to bring this over here. And okay, guys, let me get this all set up. Okay, so here is the Simplicity 8228. This is view B. And before I get to this, so an example of a lace this is an old lace that I had in my scrap box. But the, oh, sorry guys, let me actually move it this way. Yeah, I keep forgetting that you're on IG. Okay, there we go. That's a little bit better. All right. So here is a lace that the scallops are so small that even if you match it up, you really won't notice it. And the pattern is so busy that if you want to try to match it, like right here, you can. But if you don't, I don't think anybody would notice. So an example of a lace that is the motif is a little bit more prominent is this guy. So this is a new sample. It's not out yet, but it will be coming out soon. Actually, this is from a vendor who was supposed to ship this to me, but they closed down just before they did. So I'm hoping they'll open back up so I can get this kit out to you guys. So this is a lace where the pattern is a little bit bigger, and that if they didn't match, you would kind of notice it. Also, the scallop, so this is the high point of the scallop, and this is the low point of the scallop. So you would definitely notice if they didn't match. So before we get to cutting, we're gonna take our pattern right here. And what I have done is that, so I have marked the seam allowances here, and here, and I've marked a point. So at this point is where the patterns should match. You want to make sure that you're not aligning it with the edge of the pattern, because remember, there are seam allowances. So you want it to be right here. Oop, I actually made a mistake. So there are no seam allowances here. So this should actually be right here. This is the seam allowance. Of course, my pen doesn't work. There we go. Okay. So this is where it matches, right here. Because this is the scalloped lace edge right here. So there's no seam allowance, but there's a seam allowance along the vertical seam. So this is where you want your lace, the motifs to match. So what you do is you will lay out your pattern or your lace, and then you'll place your pattern over it. And let's just say, I'm gonna just arbitrarily pick a place. I'm gonna say that I want it to match there. So I'm gonna lay this point, I'm gonna put it right there. And then I'm gonna cut it out. I also highly suggest using a rotary cutter. This is on my Amazon list of my favorite bra making supplies. So this is a 28 Fiskars rotary cutter. So you'll cut it out. I'm making the camera shake. Okay. Let's see how I did. Probably needs a new blade, but that's okay. Could still do my demo. Okay, here. Okay, so I've cut out the side cup with this aligning with that. Okay, so now when I cut out the center front cup, I'm gonna do the same thing. Let's see here, yeah, like this. Over here. And have this guy, my little dot, line up with the dot. So as long as you cut out and those dots match, when you sew it, the motifs will match as well. Okay, it's good to go. Ooh, my camera almost fell. cut out one, and then I cut out the other, so that when I sew them together, see how they're gonna match right here along this seam line? So I'm gonna pin it in place just to kind of show you. So let's just say that's a seam line. Now they will match at that point. See how the dots match? So that's what you're trying to do. Let me refocus, or let me reposition this camera. Hi, I'm back again. So when you match, let me put this back on the tripod. So when you match the patterns on a scallop lace, one, you want to determine where the lace is, or the motif is going to match. And then two, you want to put on either pattern piece the point where it needs to match, and then put that on the fabric. And as long as those dots you put on the pattern are on the same place on the fabric, then you're good to go. And then when you start sewing, if you want to use pins to make sure nothing shifts when you start sewing, that's fine. Or you can baste it before sewing, so either is fine. So that is the IG Live for today. Really quick tutorial. Again, it's not hard. It just kind of takes another additional step when cutting. Tomorrow, I will be back for another IG Live on crotch linings. So a gusset is a nicer word, but panty liner, whatever you want to call it. So it is, that's a good one, because I feel like it's something that nobody talks about, but you gotta have a panty line or a gusset or crotch lining, whatever you call it. And then next week, I will definitely be having a tutorial or an IG Live on dress forms for lingerie. So I'm really excited about that one, because I reached out to a dress form company that I've worked with and asked them if they had a mannequin for lingerie, and they did. So I'm really excited to review it either next week or the following week. And then the last thing before I let you go is that I actually just announced the third virtual workshop, which is how to draft a panty. So I think that it's going to be because it's first of all, it's a basic class. You can't come wrong with basic. It's basic panty. And you can use this panty for so many things. So you can use it for a bathing suit. You can use it to draft a hipster. You can use it to draft a thong. And somebody, actually, a couple of people reached out to me, and they asked me if I could go over pattern recommendations, or what pattern changes I can make to prevent wedgies. Nobody likes a frickin' wedgie, so I will definitely be going over my pattern hacks to get rid of those wedgies. So I will hopefully see you tomorrow. Stay safe, stay healthy, wash your hands, and be creative.